Hi, this is Chris Young, and welcome to Good News on Tap for the 32nd Sunday in Ordinary Time. All of this week's readings are about sacrifice and faith in the resurrection. In the first reading, we have 7 brothers, all of whom are willing to sacrifice their life rather than go against their faith. Each was severely tortured, but they refused to eat a meal which Mosaic law forbid them to eat. Not only were they willing to undergo torture for their principles, but they did not fear dying because of their belief in the resurrection. Now, this particular reading is timely because this coming Thursday we celebrate Veterans Day, where we honor all of our military men and women, especially those who have given their lives in defense of freedom. Their sacrifice expresses, in a special way, the call we all have to follow Jesus. The example that Jesus gives us is to serve one another, and his particular service was to suffer and die for our sins. We too all are called to give up our lives in some way or another for our fellow human beings. For most of us, that simply means giving up our time, talent, and treasure to make the world a better place. But for some, it means to literally take up their cross and follow him by sacrificing their lives for the greater good. It's important to remember and to honor all of our dead, but a part of that remembrance needs to be expression of our faith in the resurrection. Sometimes it's tempting when we remember the dead to say something like, "A piece of them remains here with us, as long as we remember them. As long as we remember, they live on, or they live on in our memories." Now, remembering lost loved ones is an important part of dealing with the loss, and those memories do bring us comfort. But there's a danger. The danger is that we sometimes feel like that's the only way in which the dead live on. Ask yourself which is more important, that your memory of a loved one remains with you, or that you'll be reunited with them someday in heaven. Our gospel reading this week goes straight to the point. Now, the Sadducees were a group of people who did not believe in the resurrection. And, of course, we could never talk about the Sadducees without giving you that old joke. That's what made them so sad, you see. Anyway, seriously. They were trying to trick Jesus using a logical argument about why there can't be a resurrection. That's a standard way of reasoning. You assume the hypothesis is true. In this case, we assume there is a resurrection. Then you show how there's some inconsistency in that supposition. In this case, they say, what do you do about multiple marriages of a widow? That's inconsistent. If you can show inconsistency in the supposition, then the supposition is disproved. Jesus cleverly points out a flaw in their logic, because their supposed inconsistency was based on a false assumption. They assumed that marriage lasted into the afterlife. Jesus points out it doesn't, that after the resurrection we're changed, and that institutions such as marriage are no longer necessary. Jesus goes on to point out that even Moses gave evidence of the resurrection when he said that the Lord was the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, who had all long since passed. Well, if they did not in some sense live on, why did they need a God? Why was our God the God of the dead? It's not a God of the dead, it's a God of the living. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob live on. So that was a clever trick as well, because the Sadducees had already agreed to argue based on Moses. Jesus gives them a Moses argument to refute their false Moses argument. Anyway, for us, it may seem logical that the dead live on in our memories. And those memories are important. But there's so much more to the situation than simply memories. It's good to take comfort in those memories, but let us also take joy in the knowledge that the resurrection is real, and someday we will be united with all of our lost loved ones. And that's Good News on Tap for the 32nd Sunday of ordinary time.